gentlemen, welcome to Rotary Field in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, Canada for game number 2 of the WBSC Men's Softball World Cup Finals between Venezuela and Argentina. Representing the visiting team of Venezuela are the starting players in the following batting order. Batting first, playing left field, number 33, Alfredo Aguilar. Batting second, playing second base, number 6, Angel Adames. Batting third, first baseman, number 24, Erwin Diaz. Batting fourth, right fielder, number 12, Jose Durantes. Batting fifth, center fielder, number 11, Angel Herrera. Batting sixth, third baseman, number 14, Rogelio Sequeira. Batting seventh, designated player, number 23, Favor Rodriguez. Batting eighth, the catcher, number 22, Rafael Flores. And batting ninth, shortstop, number 2, Pedro Flores. And the rest of the athletes, the head coach, Julio Lopez. And representing the home team of Argentina are the starting players in the following batting order. Batting first, center fielder, number 59, Alan Beaker. Batting second, the shortstop, number 24, Vladislav Malarczuk. Batting third, playing left field, number 9, Teo Miglevaka. Batting fourth, first baseman, number 8, Federico Orleiser. Batting fifth, designated player, number 27, Manuel Godoy. Batting sixth, the catcher, number 6, Juan Serra. Batting seventh, second baseman, number 11, Federico Eder. Batting eighth, right fielder, number 12, Lucio Retomar. And batting ninth, third baseman, number 95, Khalil Luna. And the rest of the athletes. And the head coach for Team Argentina, Pedro Guerrieri. Ladies and gentlemen, the umpires for this game, behind home plate from the Netherlands, Patrick Ruiz. And at first base from Japan, Mitsunori Kuzumoto. From Mexico at second base, Renzo Ruiz. And along the third base line from Germany, Thomas Lohner. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the anthem of Argentina, followed by the anthem of the Venezuela team.
Welcome to beautiful Prince Albert, Saskatchewan, on the opening day of the 2025 Men's Softball World Cup. This is game number 2, and it is between the visiting team from Venezuela, the home team from Argentina. I'm Chris Abbott, joined by Lance Wynn. Lance, we've got a great tournament ahead of us. It's already started with a banger this morning in front of 26 degrees and some winds out of the northwest.
It has been an outstanding first game, and that's a taste of what's to come. Boy, sure looking forward to what's about to unfold, even here on day one.
All right, so the first game for both these teams, Venezuela will line up like this. Alfredo Aguilar in left, Angel Adames, the second baseman, batting second, and Erwin Diaz, the top three in the order. Jose Durante, Engelbert Herrera, and Rogelia Segura will make up the middle. And Cleaver Rodriguez, the veteran, Rafael Flores, and Pedro Flores rounding out the order. Defensively for Argentina, the 2019 world champions, and a lot of these names were in Prague at that time. Teo Migliavaca, Alan Pecker, and Lucio Redemar in the outfield. Khalil Luna, the youngster, at third base. Ladislao Malarzuk, Federico Eder, Federico Olheiser on the right side of the infield. Juan Zara doing the catching, and Huemul Mata on the mound for Argentina.
Yeah, Chris, when you talk about Huemul Mata, you talk about a young fella that we first saw come up in the junior ranks years and years ago, and we take a look at the blue crew out there, Patrick Roosh, of course, from the Netherlands, a.k.a. the Giant out there. He'll be the home plate umpire. Matsunari Katsumoto from Japan at first. The other busy day, of course, second game in a row for Renzo Ruiz from Mexico at second, and Thomas Leinart from Germany will be at third. So another top-notch umpiring crew out there here as there will be for each and every game. And when we talk about Mata, we talk about him and the Godoys and how they've sort of grown up in front of our eyes and what they've done and how they have come from dominating the junior ranks and have worked their way up to, you know, world-class pitchers and how strong they've been. And this matchup here today is certainly was on the highlight when we looked at the schedule, and this was who we expected to get the start for the top-ranked Argentinians.
Absolutely, the #1 ranked team in the world, and at one time the very best pitcher in the world, and he's looking to maybe reestablish that claim as Waymo Mata. The thing with Argentina that really strikes me, Lance, this group has come through the junior ranks. They won at both junior and senior men's. And most of these guys are like late 20s, early 30s, right in their prime. And they've got to be one of, if not the favorite, to win here in Prince Albert this week again.
Yeah, and I think when we did our preview, I think they were in each of all of our mentions for sure as far as a top 3 finish, if not at the top. And that's just based on the fact that you're looking at a lineup that has the experience. They've been there, different levels. They all play on the circuit or the club circuit on the regular, so they see great pitching. Mata, a great pitcher in his own right, and just a great, outstanding, all-around good ball team.
And the first pitch to Alfredo Aguilar, a 76-mile-an-hour rise ball that Aguilar was certainly behind. Venezuela ran the table, Lance, at the Group A qualifying stage in Mexico last year, but then come playoff time, they lost back-to-back games, and they got into this tournament as a wild card, being that they're ranked #5 in the world.
Well, and I think we had a good look at that. And Venezuela, of course, one of those teams where they get on a roll, they can be very dangerous, but sometimes emotions get in the way, and that sort of steers them off course. And I think that may have been the case in the group stage, but lucky enough to be able to have played well enough to earn themselves a wild card berth. And once you get to this stage where you're talking about the 8 best teams, 0-0 record, and you know, it's anyone's ball game here with a clean slate.
A 1-2 changeup freezes Aguilar, and Waymo Mata will get the first batter down looking. 2 rise balls, Lance, a dipper outside to change his eye level, and then freezes them with a changeup.
Well, you saw Mata, he came initially with the rise ball, and that's a good tester to see what that hitter is going to do. Is he aggressive or not? And Aguilar took a big hack at the first one, saw another one, and then pulled the string for the strikeout. And that's just a veteran pitcher, and of course, with a veteran catcher in Juan Zara, that's a deadly combination if you're a hitter.
Angel Adames, the 23-year-old second baseman for Venezuela, he opened a lot of eyes with his sparkling defensive play last year. He's #2 in the batting order, tries to sneak a bunt down there, but it goes foul.
Well, not such a bad thing. In the earlier game where we saw Japan and taking on, of course, you saw Dominican Republic, they didn't really square early on in that game. That game was more of a disciplined game as far as hitting goes. Later in the innings, they started to get a little more aggressive, make the defense work, and the same thing here, as you could see with Venezuela, just trying to put things in play, get that defense rotating, and see if you can't try to sneak one out. And no offense, but when you're up against a Mata, you know, sometimes taking that big cut's not the best approach.
Yeah, put it between the white lines, make the defense do the work. You've got a rookie in Khalil Luna creeping in, even with 2 strikes here against Adames. Adames is one of these guys, right? He can bat #9 in the order. You see him bat 1-2, and he slaps it back, blocked by Mata, as we're next to the, well, they're going to say he stepped on the plate. Anyhow, when he touched that, whatever way you want to slice it, Lance, there's 2 down.
Yeah, and Mata, he really fields his position well. And again, that's part of his experience. That's a tough play there. And again, just making some contact, trying to put that ball in play. And you got to do a little more because Argentina's defense is extremely tight.
Well, I was going to say, Mata, what are we, about 200 feet from the Prince Albert Raiders WHL hockey stadium? He was looking like a goalie that time, getting down, blocking it, and making the play.
Well, I didn't want to say great save or anything like that, but I think we were both thinking it for sure.
Erwin Diaz with 2 down, the first baseman steps in for Venezuela. And the first thing you notice about Diaz is that the man's back could block out the sun here in Prince Albert this week. First pitch, swinging on a drop ball, and he'll be over top of it for strike 1.
Well, we'll see if Mata, the first couple of batters you saw, didn't start them off with a first pitch strike, knowing that Venezuela aggressive hitters want to sort of get on a bit of a rhythm early on, and he started them off with pitches out of the strike zone and managed to get them to chase.
He goes down again, and Diaz can't hold up. No balls, 2 strikes.
Of course, easy to sit up here and throw that at people. A little different when you step in that batter's box and you're looking at Mata and his big self staring down at you, but you just have to know in this situation here where, you know, it's hard, but being disciplined at the plate and swinging at strikes is vital.
0-2 outside, and one of the things for Venezuela this week, if they're going to do it, they're going to have to scrape it together. They're missing some players out of their lineup that were in the qualifier, some big names as well. I mean, you can't harp on that though, Lance. You've got your 16 here, and this is who you're going to play with. And, you know, they started off against the #1 ranked team in the world. And Diaz will chase the rise ball out of the zone. So just the start we were expecting for the 2019 champions from Argentina. 2 strikeouts from Wemil Mata, and his team from Argentina will get on the bats after this.
In the top of the first inning for Venezuela, they scored no runs, there are no hits, no errors committed by Argentina, nobody left on base. We are scoreless after 1/2 inning of play.
There you get a look at some of the big crowds we're getting there early on the first day of the tournament, and the host team hasn't even gotten out of bed yet, Lance. There's the batting lineup for Argentina. Alan Pecker, Ladislao Malarczuk, and Teo Migliavaca in the 3 spots. They'll bat here on the bottom. If any of them reach, Federico Olheiser, Manuel Godoy, Juan Zera in the 4, 5, 6. Federico Eder, Lucio Retamar, and Khalil Luna rounding things out. Not a hole in that batting order. And a tough test for the pitcher, Maker Pimentel, and this is who's behind him. You've got Alfredo Aguilar in left, Engelbert Herrera in center, Jose Durante in right, Rogelio Secura, Pedro Flores on the left side, and Adames and Erwin Diaz on the right side of the infield. The veteran, the godfather of this tournament, Rafael Flores, will do the catching for Maker Pimentel. And as far as Venezuela goes this week, Lance, it's going to be on Pimentel's arm, you've got to think.
I think it is, and it's going to be Pimentel's arm along with the maestro conduction from the godfather, as you refer to him, Rafael Flores. Of course, he has been around this game for a number of years, a lot of international caps, and he is the clubhouse leader. He is the guy who is potentially looking now to pass the mantle on, but I think his leadership is something that this Argentinian program will want to keep within the program in some way, shape, or form. But his bat and what he brings to the table, along with some of these other Venezuelan hitters, is going to be the difference in whether or not they have an actual shot at contending.
Yeah, no dipping your toe into the water in this Men's World Cup final. You know, in previous years, the tournament has been held at one venue, all at the one time. This year, if you don't know, it was broken down into group stages. So we still started with 18 teams, but we eliminated 10 of those before getting here to the final round in Prince Albert. So no longer is the 8-game round robin staring you in the face where you could afford to start slowly. Lance, you've got to get going right away. And if there's a guy that can get you going right away, it's Alan Pecker for Argentina.
Pecker, dangerous hitter, probably the consummate leadoff hitter. I think if you had to compare him with someone from another team, I would maybe go with a Mathieu Roy for Canada or someone else in that spot. With good speed, great contact hitter, can hit with power as well, and he works the gaps, and he just brings a whole lot to the table for this Argentinian squad.
Yeah, I think Mathieu Roy for Canada, and you'll see him. I put my bottom dollar on it leading off for the Canadians tonight against New Zealand. It's a good comparable, and maybe Pecker with a little more power as well.
I think that's what he might bring to the table. When you talk about Pimentel, of course, and what he's done in the group qualifier, 29 innings, struck out 48. He's got a career 1.82 ERA, and he was impressive in that. And we saw that. We saw him carry the load. It was really just those 2 last games where, you know, it was a bounce one way or the other in the first game that they lost, and then the second game there, I think it was just sort of taken away from them as opposed to them giving it away. But again, sometimes it doesn't matter how you get here, it's what you do when you're here.
Pecker's going to flare this one down the left side, but it's going to fall foul over the head of Rogelio Secura at third. The count is now even, 2-2. Yeah, one of the things, you know, when you saw the Dominican team pull off what we're going to deem an upset, they were the lowest ranked team coming in, but they walked off Japan here in the first game of the day. They came back in and beat Venezuela the second time they saw Maker Pimentel last year, and part of that was the adjustments that the Dominican made, and we even saw it this morning. You know, the bats really got going in the back half of the game for them, and that's why no team is out of it here in Prince Albert, but you cannot afford that second loss. So Japan, who's actually stayed here at the park to check this one out, as teams only play one game per day. Some of them you can see actually on the left side of your screen, watching from behind home plate. They're up against it right away. Pecker through the right side. Adamas is going to flag it down, turn, throw, and in time for the out.
Well,
I was telling you about Angel Adames, Lance.
well, you were, but you didn't tell me he was going to put the range in rover. That was one heck of a play there, going back the other way. And I thought that initially Pecker had beat that out, but upon checking that replay, I think they got him by a hair, and that is one heck of a play.
Challenge system is in place this year, so Argentina would have agreed with you that the call was correct by Mitsunori Kusumoto over at first base. And for Kusumoto, I mean, how's your first play of the game in the tournament? It's a big one for the umpires too, and he had a tough call to make.
Welcome to the ball game. And again, the three of us, you, myself, and Kyle, discussed the fact that just no bad game on this schedule when you got the top 8 teams, and really no surprise that the teams that have played are sticking around to watch, because I mean, as a fan of this sport, you're talking about the best players in the world, best teams, and the best matchups, and I think we're just in for a treat, a start of things. And you've already gotten a treat when you guys did the preseason tournament. You got a little everything there. Well, you're about to get a little everything more coming for this one.
Malazuk chases a rise ball for strike 2, and that's one thing Pimentel does very, very well, is throw the rise. He'll go low and away. Well, you know, I was on my way here to the park today, and I ran into WBSC executive Craig Kress getting into the elevator. And I said, you know, Craig, some of these tournaments you come to, you do them, you know, you do so many that they sometimes become repetitive. Not that you're never grateful to be here, but I said, I feel like a kid. I was like, I haven't been excited for a ball tournament since I was a child. Look at that play by Rafael Flores. And just like last week in Saskatoon, we see a bit of everything. Flores hangs on for the strikeout.
I don't know if you could have described that was going to happen, and I really did upon watching that preseason. I thought you saw a lot, but this is a veteran catcher here, staying with it, not giving up on that pop-up, great reflexes, and he records an important out. I think the key to staying in this game for Venezuela is to try to keep the Argentinian bats as quiet as possible, and that was a big play there by Rafa.
Well, one thing I'd say about Japan this morning is I felt they gave away extra bases, extra outs against the Dominican, ended up costing them. And when you can make a play like that on a foul tip that happens 100 times a game, but record an out by staying with the ball, hey, now they're down to 19, right? And you take them one at a time.
I think when you talk about this tournament overall, you got to take it one game at a time. You have to treat every game like it could be an elimination game for you. And I think your strategy changes. You do a little more homework. You know, every at bat's a little more magnified. And we don't usually see that in the first round of tournaments. Now with this format, that's what you're getting.
Migliavaca looks at a drop ball outside, and by his reaction, he was looking for something else from Pimentel. 1 ball, 2 strikes now on the Argentinian left fielder.
Pimentel with good velocity. So far, some good command of his pitches.
Rise ball high and away.
And when you look at the top of the order in Pecker, Malazuk, and Migliavaca, these are 3 guys where you really don't want to throw the ball in the meat of the plate. You want to try to work the corners, get them to slap it here, you know, bring it in on the hands. You leave that out over the meat, and they're going to make you pay. They're that good hitters.
Full count on Migliavaca. And one of the things about all 3 of those guys at the top of the order for Argentina is they can play it any way you want to. You want to play it back, they'll drop down a bunt. You want to give them something in the outfield, they'll drive it to the caps. They are just that good, all 3.
That's what makes them so dangerous. They have all facets.
3-2 from Pimentel is low, and Teo Migliavaca will give us our first base runner of the game here. Second game of the day, 2 doozies coming up later, Lance. We've got USA, Australia next, 2 of the best pitchers in the world, Marco Diaz, Jack Besgrove going head-to-head, and then Canada, New Zealand tonight here under the lights, the host team against their fiercest rival. This day 1.
I don't even know what to tell you about that, Chris. I know we plan on leaving early and getting home late.
Federico Olheiser takes a rip at the first pitch from Pimentel. Looking at strike 1.
He swung at that like he knew it was coming. He was certainly going to be aggressive up there, and if you got something close to the plate, was going to take a hack. See here what adjustments made by Pimentel.
Goes right back down. Olheiser will foul it off now quickly, 0-2. Olheiser, all he did in the qualifying round was go 5 for 10 with 4 RBIs and a triple. He wasn't with the team, Lance, in Auckland in 2022, and he hit 200 in 2019 when we were in Prague.
Well, you talk about, you know, the veterans in the lineup. You got to have some youth in there as well if you're going to build a solid program.
This is going to get past Flores off the giant Patrick Roos behind the plate, and Migliavaca will move ahead on the wild pitch. And we call him the Giant. Yes, he's a big man back there, Patrick Roos, the home plate umpire.
He's a big man.
But his name literally translates to giant in Dutch.
Who knew? I was calling him Jolly Green for a while, and then that just sort of fit in there well. But, you know, as nice as he is big, and I think initially when I started calling him Giant, I think he was a little offended at first, but then it's not about, you know, it's just about strictly you're a big man. That's it, okay? You know, nothing else, any of that. Don't take offense. And I think we've been okay ever since.
Well, he's certainly a gentle giant, too. I had the opportunity to have a couple of meals with him last year in the group stage, and you're right, super kind man. So great to see him get the first day home plate assignment in such a big game. Olheiser on the 1-2 will swing through it. And Maker Pimentel, just as we expected, up to the task after 1 complete here in Prince Albert. Venezuela, Argentina, locked at 0.
In the bottom of the first inning for Team Argentina, they scored no runs, and no hits, no errors committed by Venezuela, and 1 runner was left on base. We are scoreless after 1 inning of play. A reminder, there is a ball return down the third baseline, past the dugout for a looney. So if you get a foul ball out there, you can take it over there, drop it in, and somebody will give you a looney.
Back here for the top of the second inning. The 4, 5, 6 hitters due up for Venezuela: Durantes, Herrera, and Segura. Lance, I got to tell you, man, I'm really impressed with the turnout for the fans here in Prince Albert. You can see behind home plate, you better get here early if you want one of those seats. The VIP tent is starting to bump down there. We're seeing a smattering of people in the outfield. We were here in 2018 when Prince Albert hosted the World Under-18 men's, and there's a look at the Art Hauser Center, which is the arena for the hockey team we referenced earlier. It also houses our WBSC family during the event. But man, you can see why Prince Albert gets these events. The people come out in droves.
And they were lined up from the first game, and we're not talking about the friends and family of Dominican Republic. You know, we're talking about the home fans here from Prince Albert. They came out in droves, and these seats have been at a premium. I tell you, if you're planning on coming for that Canada game tonight, I suggest you make it here for the Australia-USA game first, sort of solidify your seat, and then enjoy that other game, because it is already tight in here.
That one's scheduled for 4:30, so yeah, tell the boss you got to dip out a little bit early. Get down here to Prime Minister's Park. I'd be taking the week off if I lived here.
Listen, you wouldn't even be calling your boss. Stop. If you're ever looking for a legitimately questionable excuse for getting off work, Chris Abbott is definitely your guy.
1-2 to Durantes, and he gets a piece of the rise ball from Mata. But it fouls it back.
Well, that's the thing with the velocity that Mata has. You can guess the right pitch, but actually getting a piece of it is a whole nother thing. And it's got such good zip in it. Starts as a strike. It certainly doesn't finish as one, but it looks like one, and that's where you get into difficulties.
And then he goes down, chases a drop ball. Mata working all around the zone, both sides of the plate, and has his third strikeout in 4 batters.
What a great sequence you saw there. Set him up, guessed right on the rise. The adjustment make, well, you come back with the drop. And that's exactly what he did. And an easy swing over by Durante, and a good quick first out for Mata in Argentina.
So I'll bring up Engelbert Herrera, 31-year-old outfielder for Venezuela. That was in tight. And it's a good thing he's got tight pants and shirt on, Lance. That might have got a piece of him.
It might have. He just got that in enough. I think he probably felt the breeze, but that was it. But when you're a pitcher at this level, elite level, you have to be able to throw the ball inside, especially you got good hitters crowding that plate, cutting down that strike zone.
Change up outside. Herrera was in front of it, and again, Mata working ahead. Check that, 1-1. Herrera hit .353, big part of Venezuela's success last year. He was in Auckland. He was also in Prague. He's got a .268 average at the Men's World Cup. Drop ball inside. Argentina, Lance, maybe a little advantage on the field, as well as New Zealand and Canada, as they played their group stage right here in this ballpark in Prince Albert last year. So it would be a familiar spot for them as a drop ball in the inside corner, now 2-2.
I think that's certainly being familiar with the surroundings, knowing how much room you have down the lines as far as foul territory goes, and just being familiar with the park, the drop, the backdrop, and what that looks like. I think that is a definite advantage, and you can see it paying off here.
You could hear the gasp from the crowd here in Prince Albert as as Mata tied up Herrera with his 4th strikeout, and they were just impressed by that rise ball.
Well, you look at that, and I'm not even talking about listening to it. Sounded like a firecracker went off the way it popped that glove. That is, you can tell that Mata is really rearing back, feeling good. He's in a good rhythm. His motion is smooth, and the way he is working that strike zone top to bottom has really been effective. And Venezuela struggling now even really to get a foul ball or two.
3 strikeouts in a row for Waymul Mata. And he's in a 1-1 count on Rogelio Segura. Rogelio also in his 3rd World Cup with this Venezuelan squad.
I would say Segura's got himself a whole lot of international caps as well. He has been around for a number of years.
And he's got a hit, a 2-out single through the left side, and Herrera increases his .339 career World Cup batting average by getting his team on the base paths, and that was a nice piece of hitting.
Well, you talk about a professional hitter, and it's not always about the guy with the power, take it out of the yard. You watch him shortens up the stroke, gets a good pitch from Mata, and able to shoot that through the left side of the infield, and that's just a good hitter with a good approach with 2 strikes.
You know, we were talking about the teams who have been here before, contended with this wind before, as it is howling here in from right field. Claver Rodriguez, from a veteran to a debutant. And he'll swing through strike 1, the designated player today for Venezuela.
Yeah, you don't need to adjust your audio. That is the wind. There's not a whole lot we can do about it. It is. But for us, from our vantage point, it certainly keeps us cool. But more importantly, it really gives us an idea of how much an effect that it can have on those fly balls and defensively what you might have to do.
You can see the pants on Mata whipping around. Change up that Rodriguez will leave low, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. So it's 2 change ups that Mata's let go in this at bat. strike 2 and 2.
Well, you can see the command that Mata has of the changeup. He knows whether he wants to throw it as a strike or throw it for a ball. And I think when you get a hitter here like Rodriguez, who is a big swinger, that you may be setting him up with that changeup, knowing that you're going to try to get him out with something hard and up.
Bang on, Lance Wynn. The side is struck out by Waymo Mata. That's 5 through 2 innings. And as advertised, the Argentinian righty is making life quite difficult on the Venezuelan lineup. We'll be right back with the bottom of the second here from PA.
In the second inning for Venezuela, they scored no runs. They had 1 hit. No errors were committed by Argentina, and 1 runner was left on base. The score is Venezuela 0, Argentina 0. There's going to be some fireworks tonight. PTR Financial has sponsored fireworks for tonight and Friday following the final game. That'll be at approximately 10:30. These games would not be possible without the help of our sponsors. Here are today's game day sponsors. Crown Cleaner, PA Fast Break, and PA Software.
Manuel Godoy, the designated player, leading things off for Argentina. He'll be followed by Juan Zara and Federico Eder in the lineup.
Certainly mentioned his brother, starter Reúnem, and Manuel, part of that dangerous Godoy duo that we have watched grow up in front of our eyes, and they sure have put together a very impressive career.
By all accounts, Roman having himself an excellent season. May see him come on in relief later today if necessary. But Lance, you know, with the, Manuel Godoy did not like that strike call in the outside corner, and he's in a hole 0-2. But we talked about how condensed this week will be in terms of games. You got to think the Aces are going to pitch 80-90% of the innings for their teams.
Well, I think they're for sure going to get the first game. I think that's going to be a for sure, knowing how important it will be to pick up a win your first time out. And I think you have to in a tournament like this. Like we said, you lose a game, you're already behind the 8 ball. You lose 2, and chances are you're not going to be playing for a World Cup title.
Godoy goes down swinging, so Maker Pimentel is up to the task, as I said before, going pitch for pitch with Waymo Mata.
Well, just like the prep work done by Argentina against these Venezuelan hitters, the same thing can be said as Pimentel has done a great job of working the entire zone, and that rise ball, which is his money pitch, you know, it's only as good as when you use it. And even though he has a good one, if you guess right, again, you still have to hit it, and that's where the challenge is.
Juan Zara, the catcher for Argentina, he's one of the rare catchers that he's got some good speed back there too, Lance. So the corners are playing back. Wouldn't be surprised to see him put one down. Nice play by Segura at third, and it's a good thing he was playing back as he jumps up to cut down the hopper.
Well, if he's back, then he's going to get that, and he's not going to be in time for a throw to get Zara at first. If he's in, that goes over his head. So perfectly positioned by Segura. And again, those are the little things that a veteran player does. You saw him get that 2-strike hit with 2 outs an inning ago, and here positioned perfectly to get a vital out to put the Venezuelans 1 out away from getting out of this inning and getting right back up to bat.
First pitch rise ball left up there by the second baseman Adair. Check swing, called strike, 1-1. Lance, I tell you one thing I love about the WBSC events is the pitch clock. It moves the game along.
Well, and again, I don't know what took Major League Baseball so long to adapt to that. WBSC is known for a number of years that that's the way you work the game. You see it now in some different sports and how important it is and how it's increased the flow. And you're absolutely right. That's always been one of the positive things that we've taken, is the game always has a good flow.
Not interested in the rise at all. Count goes to 3-1 on Federico. Should he reach, Lucio Redemar, the right fielder, is on deck, another left-handed batter. Peter looking for something different, I think, Lance.
Well, that's where you talk about the sequence of pitching, and a good job by Pimentel. So he went to the rise ball out of the zone, knowing that that may be the setup pitch to come back down and away, and that's what he did there. It'll be what he's able to close out with. And
swing and a miss, foul tip, and again Flores hangs on for strike 3. So Pimentel will strike out 2, get some help from Segura at third, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Argentina here in the bottom of the second. We go to the third. We're still looking for our first runs. 8-9-1 due up for Venezuela.
We are scoreless after 2 innings of play. Ladies and gentlemen, the sound stage. There will be daily entertainment following the second and third game. That's over there in right field.
Rafael Flores leading things off for Venezuela in the top of the third inning. Venezuela with 1 hit. Argentina has had 1 base runner via the walk, and this has started a lot like our first game today with the Dominican and Japan.
Incredible, the similarities for sure, and I think that's just a good sign of another good ball game brewing here, as we are through 2 complete, and we've seen quite a bit of, well, I won't say interesting plays, but fundamentally sound plays and good pitching, fundamental hitting. But boy, oh boy, I think it's going to come down to these 2 guys in the circle. They're going to be the difference here in this game.
If you've watched any softball over the last 15 years, you've seen that big swing from Rafael Flores. We only have partial stats for him because his time at the WBSC goes back before it was the WBSC tournament. And there he is again, the veteran Rafael Flores with a leadoff single here in the top of the third.
I tell you, the Godfather never disappoints. He just continues to come up and do his thing, and he has never swung the bat softly in the time that we've watched him, and that's just a good hard hit. Good hard one-hopper down that third base line, and maybe back in the day Rafa would have stretched that into a double, but here I think a leadoff single will be good enough.
Got to think Flores will square to bunt. He does. This is Pedro Flores, the shortstop, batting in the 9 spot, and Lance, since Whitehorse, and that's as far as our statistics go, because before that he's literally been playing, he's been around longer than the WBSC. But
be nice to Rafa.
Since the 2017 tournament in Whitehorse, he's got 24 RBIs in 25 games at the senior men's level. Looking to score a run here now, as that's a called strike 2 on Pedro Flores.
Well, that just gives you an idea not only of the longevity, but the consistency that he brings, and that's impressive in itself. Just to be able to have played the sport that long at the level that he has is impressive in itself. But you know, coming out here, playing with the young guys, and he shows them how it's done with that leadoff single. And it's going to be, I mean, that's a big strikeout right there for Mata.
3-pitch strikeout, down goes Pedro Flores. And, you know, we talked earlier about taking the outs away from the other team. Your number 9 batter with the leadoff guy on, you need him to get that ball in play, Lance, but easier said than done against Mata.
For sure, but I mean, that again, as a number 9 hitter. He went up there. He was trying to square. You can see now back at the top of the shop with Aguilar. He squared up. He's choked up a bit on the bat as well. So trying to take something off and put this in play. If you are Venezuela, you want to at least push that runner into scoring position. If you're Argentina and you're able to stop that from happening, you take the momentum into the dugout with you.
Aguilar gets out ahead of this, but yanks it foul down the left field side of the complex. A long strike.
Way well in front of that
field side of the complex. A long strike.
Way well in front of that pitch. And Mata taking a little something off, but it sat up in the zone.
0-2 to Aguilar, who struck out looking to lead off the game. Stays alive with a foul tip off the shin pad of Wanzara.
Again, Mata came with a little bit of an off-speed pitch there. This time out in front was Aguilar, and I think that's the setup maybe for a couple of rise balls coming his way. That is Mata's go-to pitch as well.
Another foul, and Aguilar's got him timed up pretty good here the second time around.
Fortunately, Mata's got a few tools in that belt of his. And
well, working ahead 0-2 like this, I think you're right, Lance. A changeup or a drop ball. Either one of them should be outside of the strike zone, though, if you're going to go with it. That's off the top of the bat. Step on second, on to first, and it's a double play. Mallarzouk on to Olheiser, and Argentina, just like that, is out of the inning.
For Venezuela in the top of the third, they scored no runs. They had 1 hit, no errors committed by Argentina, and nobody left on base. The score is Venezuela 0, Argentina 0. Leading off the bottom of the third inning for Argentina.
8-9-1 due up for Argentina, just as was the case for Venezuela in the top half of the inning. Lucio Redemar, Khalil Luna back up top for Alan Pecker, who's due up third. So no surprise, Lance, we've seen strong defense on both sides of the ball so far in this game. 2 dominant pitchers on the mound, so it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that we're scoreless here in the third.
No, I mean, I think you're right. And I look at the numbers here, and you talk about 4 strikeouts, just 1 base runner for the top-ranked team in the world through 3 innings. That's impressive in itself by Venezuela, just to stay in this one. Not that we didn't expect that by any stretch, but we're still working at first time through the order here, and we've played 3. That says something about what Venezuela's done, something about what Argentina hasn't done, but then when you flip it, the same could be said for each of them on the other side.
Mallarzouk on the ground. This is going to stay fair. Segura waits for it and makes the throw across for the first out.
Well, you know, a ball like that looks routine, but depending on the time of day and how hard that infield is will determine how fast it gets down to that third baseman. And Segura, you can see, inched in just a couple of steps enough to know that he had to get a quick release on that, but secured it, and a picture-perfect throw over to first.
First pitch swinging, Khalil Luna, and he'll come up empty. Luna just up off the U23 team. And quickly down 0-2. Luna went 4 for 18 for Argentina at the 2023 U23 Men's World Cup.
Well, this is where you talk about the youth coming up, right? He is one of the next generation for Argentina, and getting some seasoning in here and some valuable experience that you can bet he'll be a mainstay for a few years to come for the Argentinians.
And Luna's going to send this up the middle. Adames off the back foot and unable to pick it is Erwin Diaz. We'll wait and see how that scored, but Khalil Luna may have his first hit in his first at-bat at the Men's World Cup.
I think you got to give the young fella a hit there. That ball's hitting a hole. It would have been a really, really tough play for Adames to be able to pivot without going airborne and getting that throw. He did pivot, did go airborne, but didn't get enough on the throw, and just Diaz not able to dig that one out off the short hop.
So back to the top for Alan Pecker with a runner on and one down in the bottom of the third.
Well, if you're Venezuela, this is where you have to be careful. Now you're at back to the top of the shop. You've got Pecker, Malherzog, and Migliavaca already have had an at-bat, and usually your toughest at-bat in a tournament like this is your first one. And
Pecker butts it back to Pimentel, who's falling away, makes the throw to second. Adames is there, and Luna's got his hands out, wondering what just happened. It all happened very fast, but Luna's out at second after he was indeed awarded a hit in his at-bat. But now it's 2 down, and the runner is Pecker at second, and very nearly a collision out there.
Well, yeah, but I think what was so impressive was the way Pimentel had already decided that he was going to cut down that lead runner. As soon as he fielded that ball, it was a quick pivot and a good hard throw right over to second. No hesitation to get the lead.
Malherzog, first pitch swinging. He'll foul it straight up. Flores faking everybody out back there like he had a play on it. It was about 125 feet away from the field. What a character this guy is. I'd like to sit in a room with him and Toriyama from Japan. I bet you we'd have a lot of fun.
I'm sure it'd be nothing but laughs all around.
Pecker with speed over at first, Lance. And you got to wonder if in a game this tight and a guy who handles the bat like Malherzog, do you think about getting him in motion?
Well, I think you have to do something to mix things up. I know you don't want to be that team to make the first mistake, but at the same time, you've got to stay aggressive. And Argentina is really an aggressive hitting ball team, and that's the way they play their best ball. And it'll be interesting. And that may have been Pecker's speed that may have enticed Pimentel to immediately go to try to cut down the lead runner, as opposed to trying to go to first to catch the speedster running down the line. So
time was called before that pitch, and a conversation from Beto Guarnieri off the bench for Argentina. To be honest with you, Lance, I don't know if they're asking about the delivery from Pimentel. Yes, they are, about his pausing.
I think I agree. I think it's the fact that he may not have come to a complete stop on his delivery, but that is certainly something that a manager would catch or an assistant would catch and approach. But it doesn't appear that our giant home plate umpire, Roos, is agreeing with that. I think he may be explaining that situation, and it seems like a civil conversation, which is always a good thing. But again, I'm not quite sure that's even a reviewable play anyway.
No, it wouldn't be at all. It would be a conversation. But again, I can't say with 100% certainty what the conversation was about. But it did have something to do with the delivery of Maker Pimentel. But regardless, it's 1-2 with 2 out. Pecker's the runner at first. And Malherzog will foul that off to stay alive.
Good job just to get a piece of that to live to see another pitch. If you're Venezuela and you can get out of this inning clean, that will go a long way to helping the cause.
Malarzuk stays alive, chases a outside rise ball, far out of the park. Do the 1-2 over again. Pecker's on the move. The pitch is low. They'll check the swing down at third, and it's an uncontested stolen base for Alan Pecker, who moves himself into scoring position.
Yeah, and I think that's the only option Rafa had. There wasn't going to be a throw. Such a good jump from Pecker, and all he could do is question whether or not that the hitter went around on the swing.
And with that, we're going to get a visit to the mound from Delio Lopez. Interesting timing in a 2-2 count with 2 out.
Well, interesting, but also kind of gives you an idea of the magnitude of this game and knowing how valuable runs are. And you got to figure, just like we figured in the previous game to open things up, that it was going to be a one-run game, and that may be something that we say over and over again, because there really isn't a whole lot of difference regardless of the rankings as far as these teams go in these situations. There is only an error or you know, a big hit that will separate these teams from each other. And I think that may be a good thing by Venezuela to slow it down and see if they can't sort of freeze the kicker a bit and put Malarzuk in a bit of a hole pattern.
Low ball 3. And Lance, I do want to correct something. The question wasn't at all about the pitching of Pimentel. There was a strike added to the count of Malarzuk for not being back in the box on time. So we missed that, but that was the case. Regardless, the count is now full. And Pimentel will take a little off, and on the inside pitch, Malarzuk will swing past it. And a big, big strikeout to strand Alan Pecker out at second base. 3 innings complete here in Prince Albert. You're watching the 2025 Men's Softball World Cup.
In the bottom of the 3rd inning, Argentina scored no runs. They had 1 hit.
Yeah.
No errors were committed by Venezuela, and 1 runner is left on base. We are scoreless after 3 innings of play.
Let's salute the team host sponsors. Monty Joseph Home Foundation. Sheila and Mitchell Holaster. Maine Toyota. Rowdy Motorsports. R&W Custom Collision. Pinnacle Protection Services. East Hill Excellence. And PA Exhibition Association.
Two, 3, 4 hitters due up for Venezuela as we play in the top of the 4th. Still looking to get our first runner past second base in this game, Lance.
Well, the defense has been tight. The pitching's been even better. You look at the line here, and just to tell you what Mata has done, 6 strikeouts, and like you said, just a couple of base runners left on. A double play that was a good one, and Mata one more time fielding his position perfectly.
Adames again tries the slap hit. He gets a good piece of it, but Mata coming off that mound at over 6 feet, when he spreads out that wingspan, it's more like 7 or 8, and tough to get it past him.
Well, he tried the first time, and same result the second time, and again, Mata's an imposing figure in that circle. He's got good size, good strength, but again, very agile. Gets off that rubber in a hurry and knows exactly what to do with it when he gets it.
First pitch changeup is a called strike on Erwin Diaz, who went down swinging in his first at-bat.
Got some action in the Argentinian bullpen.
Yeah, I saw Roman Godoy stretching it out over there earlier. Now he's throwing. And it'll be interesting to see how teams approach this, Lance. You know, we saw Hiroki Akita get a little late in the game for Japan and get in some trouble. And a lot of times you'll see teams, especially Argentina, with two strong arms, that they'll split it up, 4-3, 5-2. So curious to see how this goes.
Well, I think when you look at that, that kind of gives you an indication of what they're thinking going forward. If they're going to split the innings evenly, then that's probably the way they'll do it. If you let your starter go a little longer, that means you may have someone else in mind to start the next day, and it's not necessarily a duel. You may be going with 3 pitchers, and so it just depends, I think, on these coaches and how they read how well and how balanced these pitchers are throwing when they come in and do their innings. I think you make your decision based on that. You don't be too premature on it.
2-2 on Diaz, a drop ball, and a heavy one at that. He'll swing over for his second strikeout of the day, and Huemil Mata just continues to roll here for Argentina.
Well, he has just worked the plate masterfully, and when he's done, the location, even the pitches that have end up in the middle of the plate are starting towards the inside or the outside and breaking back, and that's what's made it so tough for these Venezuelan hitters to really gauge anything. The fact that he's not throwing pitches repeatedly, he is mixing things up. Very hard to scout that as a hitter, very hard to stand in the batter's box and know or even try to guess what he's going to throw you when you come up to bat.
2 down. Here is Dorantes. Takes a first pitch strike.
You know, it doesn't help that, you know, he's got extremely good velocity on the rise ball, and then he can pull the string and tone it down 20, 25 miles an hour slower.
Tries it again. Dorantes lets everyone know that it was high. And that could just also be a way that he reaffirms to himself, I don't want to hit anything up there. Leave that at that level. Gets a pitch right in his wheelhouse, and he fouls it straight back.
I think you have to, as a hitter, when you go up against a pitcher like Mata, you really have to pick a specific zone, and that's what you are going to swing at, and tell yourself that, you know, if it's anywhere outside of that, you leave it. The problem is you see that rise ball, and then you get that change. It looks so tantalizing, but you don't realize it's moving all over the place. And extremely difficult to hit.
That foul ball hit the piping on the fence and went all the way out into short left field, if you're wondering the velocity at which that Mizuno moves around the ball diamond.
Well, that and the groans from the crowd, goodness.
Might not be a bad idea to sit down below that that level of the fence. One and two the count. 2 out here in the top of the 4th inning. Venezuela has 2 hits in the game. And that's all they'll have for the next few minutes, as it's swing and a miss, strike 3, yet another strikeout for Huemil Mata. Venezuela goes 1, 2, 3, and Mata has now retired 7 batters in a row. We'll see if his offense can pick him up. 3, 4, 5, Migliavaca, Olheiser, and Godoy will come up for Argentina in the bottom of the 4th.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you catch all the action at the WBSC Men's Softball World Cup, as well as all WBSC softball and baseball tournaments at Game Time Sport. Watch live or on demand the best of international softball at GameTime.sport.
That's more of our spot. The opening ceremony spot. Sheila and Mitchell Look at that spot.
Teo Migliavaca, the only batter, one of 2 batters, check that, to reach base for Argentina in this game. Reached on a walk back in the 1st inning. First pitch just inside off the plate for ball 1.
Well, I tell you, you get a walk off of Pimentel, you gotta figure that's a very successful at-bat. Foul a couple off, a successful at-bat, a hit, an amazing at-bat. But both these starters certainly not disappointing, and sort of we're getting what we expected, Chris, really.
Second straight drop ball from Pimentel. Migliavaca swings through this one, and he's down 1-2 in the count. One thing for both pitchers, nobody's falling behind. They're getting out ahead, and when they've got pitchers this good that are in 0-1 and 1-2 counts, man, it makes it tough in there in the box.
Sure does. You're giving them an extra advantage. They've already got an advantage, and you know, you put them in the driver's seat, and chances are, as a passenger, you're a little helpless.
Migliavaca on the ground, tough play. Pimentel gets there, shovels it into the waiting arms of Erwin Diaz for the first out.
Well, that's just and I know you may be thinking at home that's a little too casual, but I'll tell you, Pimentel doesn't get to that ball. That's an infield hit. His length, the way he got out of that circle, falling that way anyway, because I'm sure that Adames was not going to be able to get to that ball and get it over to first in time. So hats off to Pimentel, fielding his position and recording a big out for them.
To the cleanup man in Federico Olheiser, who's 0 for 1 with a strikeout. I know you're hearing me say that a lot today, but it's just the reality on both sides.
There's nothing repetitious except what we've seen so far in these first 2 games. They really have been.
Olheiser's going to put this one back up the middle on a ball that bounced about 3 inches in front of the plate and then bounded into center field. And it's a 1-out single for Olheiser.
Certainly got a good swing, put a good charge in that one straight up the middle, and there was nothing Pimentel or anyone else was going to do about that. Just a solid base hit from a good hitter.
We've got a pinch runner coming in for Olheiser. That is number 34 in your program, Luciano Biondi. 22-year-old, and as is often the case when the young players join the team, Lance, your first role is pinch runner, no matter how good you are.
Well, that's where you come in, you're at the bottom of the food chain, all right? So you're looking to get it in. But you know what? We say that, but at the same time, as a young player, you're thrilled to just get in the game.
Oh,
so, you know, with an opportunity to run, to be involved, and that's where you pick up the valuable experience that you're going to need going forward. And a couple of years from now, I'm sure that won't be his only role on this team. So you figure that that's probably the best way to introduce him to it and get him out there and get a feel.
First pitch rise ball, that's 79 from Maker Pimentel. And I mean, it looked to me like he took a little off that one. So it's a tough gig up there for Manuel Godoy, who fouls off the second pitch, now in a hole 0-2.
Well, this is where, as a hitter, you really have to work. And again, you got Pimentel in the driver's seat, and what we've seen in the earlier game and what we're seeing here is about the bounce back. These pitchers really haven't had to bounce back from anything. There haven't been multiple runners on base, or at no point in time has it seemed like either has been in jeopardy of really surrendering anything. And we thought that way in the earlier ball game until the 4th, and it was a leadoff home run that opened the scoring, and it was the long ball that was the difference. But that may be the case here in this one as well.
Runner goes, strike him out, and throw him out. Double play. Rafael Flores and Maker Pimentel, and of course, Angel Adames. Who else is on the other end of that one?
That's just good fundamental baseball. Got a great pitch in the strikeout. It was up, and Rafa from his knees, a beauty throw, and great job to slap that tag on and record out number 3.
Off to the 5th inning in Prince Albert, still locked at zeros between Venezuela and Argentina. Engelbert Herrera will lead things off for Venezuela in the top of the 5th inning. He'll be followed by Rogelio Segura and Claver Rodriguez. And in a 7-inning softball game, when you get to the 5th and there's no score, it's already tough enough to... Oh, are we going to get a ball assessed to Argentina? You're supposed to have your warm-ups done in 60 seconds or 3 pitches. You don't get 3 automatically, and that's what the conversation is about, and Mata will just have to hold on to that last warm-up pitch.
He will. Well, you called it on the adding of a strike there earlier on, and sometimes I think some of these guys get into their own little rhythms and they're able to do their things, whether you play club ball or I think some can, have a pro hop, different leagues where you're allowed, you can be a little out of the chute. Not here when you play in a WBSC event, you follow the rules. The guidelines are stated specifically for every situation, and they do a great job of enforcing those rules.
So on his 2 warm-up pitches, Waymo Mata will get set. And I'm not sure if I've done it yet, but I always want to call him Lucas Mata.
Well, that
just shows
just
you're
goes
around
back.
too long.
That's just going back. But no, not even. It just goes to you how long a Mata has been around. Not so much you, sir.
And now we've got a question coming from the Venezuelan dugout. Or the first base coach's box, excuse me, but we're all good. The count is 1-0 on Engelbert Herrera. And he fouls it off, 1-1, as that falls into the Venezuelan bullpen.
Well, you look as we're in the top of the 5th inning and still second time through the order only, batting in the 5, 6, 7 spots here for Venezuela means there hasn't been a whole lot going on offensively.
This is ripped but foul, and Herrera is in a hole now, 1-2. And it's funny, Lance, because that's, a foot and a half from being a triple.
Well, it is, but at the same time, you can see that they had that line guarded pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see, knowing that you've got a pull hitter up there in Herrera. Depending on how they're going to pitch him, might be a good idea to sort of hug that line a little tighter. You'd rather give up 1 than give up 2 or 3 bases.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Down goes Herrera for the 2nd time in this one. We've got another pitcher throwing in the bullpen for Argentina, Lance. And it's the youngster, Matias Echeverri. Now, I don't know if he and Godoy are just staying ready so they don't have to get ready. But certainly no need to get Waymo Mata out of this game.
No, I don't think Mata's really in too much jeopardy. And I think maybe with that youngster coming up there to warm up, I think that's all he's doing. I think they would certainly go to someone with a little more experience. And Godoy first in this situation here, scoreless ball game. First game of this World Cup final.
First pitch to Segura was a called strike on a changeup. He'll then chase a drop ball, and again, it's 0-2.
Well, Mata's been able to get ahead in the count without throwing first pitch strikes, and that's been the key for him in keeping him where he should be as far as what we talk about being in the driver's seat. These are good hitters here, and he's making some of these really good hitters look very average just based on where his location is, the velocity, and a different variety of pitches.
He has struck out 9 to this point. Make it 10 as Segura swings through, and he's now 1 for 2. And with 2 down, Claver Rodriguez will come in, and the beat goes on for Waymo Mata.
Just a good pitch selection. You see when you got a guy who can throw the ball hard but can also change speeds. That's what makes him one of the most effective pitchers in this game, is his ability to do that.
So Claver Rodriguez, who was one of the 10 strikeouts on the ledger for Mata, first pitch changeup, and he has Rodriguez out in front. And Lance Rodriguez had a couple of big hacks in the first at-bat, and Juan Zera thought exactly about that.
And yeah, your last at-bat will certainly be carried over. If you've got a good veteran catcher like Zara, he remembers exactly how he got you out the last time and the sequence. And you can bet he will just adjust that sequence enough to throw you off your rhythm and allow you or not allow you to be able to guess what the next pitch will be that you're going to see.
Came off speed again, and Rodriguez with a check swing called no swing down at third by Thomas Lohnert of Germany.
Well, that's when you look to potentially gas it up now. So he's had a look at the couple of off-speed pitches. You got a 1-1 count. Maybe you go with a rise ball, not necessarily for a strike, but you try to get him to swing at that before you change course.
Rodriguez. Again, that angled up swing, and he comes up empty.
Well, that's exactly, again, when you have the veteran battery with Zara and Mata who've worked together numerous times. You've got that communication.
Rise ball foul back.
So 2 change, 2 rise now. Do you go with a change out of the strike zone? I think with the count you've got, 1 and 2, I think that might be where you go.
Well, I think for sure I don't throw him a drop ball because with his swing path, it could go a long way. So I go hard rise up and away. Or drop ball way out of the zone.
Well, yeah, and that's the leeway you have with a 1-2 count. You got the ability to make sure that, and I think your main point was just don't make it a sweet pitch to hit, and don't hit his bat by accident.
There's the changeup, but it's low, and a nice job by Rodriguez to keep the bat on the shoulder. Count now full. Off the plate, ball 4. Mata trying to stretch the zone, and I'll tell you what, that's a great at-bat from Claver Rodriguez.
Sure is. That is a high quality at bat with 2 outs to battle back from a 1-2 count, and looks like a visit. I don't think there'll be a change. I don't think you're worried so much about pushing that big red panic button. I think maybe just a little bit of a breather or settle him down. I think Mata wanted that call on the outside corner.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is it's Rafael Flores who's batting in the 8th spot for Venezuela, not your prototypical 8 hitter as he singled in his first at bat. So you just want to be aware, be careful, and it is warm out there, Lance. Even though the wind is blowing, it's still hot.
Yeah, I think when you talk about Flores, he's got one of the 2 hits here for Venezuela. He's a veteran hitter. He knows now he's very difficult for you to fool a catcher as far as pitch sequence goes. So, you know, you're going to have to be very careful with Rafa because he could lose one in a hurry too and change the complexion of this game with 1 swing.
Certainly, a 2-run deficit in this game would feel like 12. So it's Flores with Rodriguez at first after a walk and a first pitch ball from Huemel Mata, who in the last 2 at-bats has struggled a little bit with the zone.
He's fallen and had to really work hard, gone deep in the count.
Flores looked to put that one up in the Northwest Territories somewhere here, but he comes up dry.
But like you said before, does he ever swing soft? Right? That's just rough.
He's not looking for an infield single, no.
He's not looking for a bloop single.
Around the feet, a late break from Rodriguez as I guess he was blocked out from seeing that ball go to the screen. No matter. Down to second on the wild pitch. And now, are they going to run for Rodriguez? That's what I think is happening here, yes.
It is the case. All of a sudden, that runner in scoring position now is a whole different thing. Franklin Benitez is going to come with a little more speed. But I'm not so sure if I wouldn't just put Rafa on here. With a 2-1 count.
9 batter coming next.
9 batter coming next. I'm not so sure, and I only say that because Rafael Flores has a tendency to step up when needed. And when you're talking about now, you're talking the 5th inning, you're talking about potentially getting close to that next run wins kind of scenario. And his potential to go deep at any time is there. So, but that's just, of course, from the broadcast booth, not from the dugout.
No, I'm with you there, though. It's a 2-1 count. And I think definitely if this is a ball, you walk in. If you miss here, you got to put him out. But yeah, it's so easy to coach when you're not wearing the uniform of either team.
There's no pressure. There's no pressure, right? It's okay if we make a mistake, right?
2-1 to Flores. And he sends this high out to center field. This is going back, and this will be caught just shy of the warning track by Alan Pecker.
I told you, any pitch, you're in danger of Rafa putting a jolt in it, and I tell you, if that wind isn't blowing inward, I think that ball is out of this park.
Pecker with a foot on the warning track makes the catch. We're off to the bottom of the 5th. Is that the wake-up call the bats from Argentina will need, or will they still have to deal with Pimentel on the mound? We'll be right back. So a buzz here in Prime Minister's Park after Rafael Flores nearly put the #1 ranked team in the world squarely on the back foot, Lance.
Well, it's just a little bit, what would you say? Yeah, that's warning track. And again, I think if the wind is blowing in a different direction, and not that Rafa needed some wind help, I think that's what sort of kept it in the yard. I think that ball is, you can see 250 all the way around this ballpark, and that ball was hit a ton, but dodging a bullet, that's what it's all about. Here's Argentina now with their chance.
Zara, Eder, and Retimar will bat, and that first pitch fouled right off the mask of Rafael Flores, and he's not showing it, but I might have stung him just a touch.
Well, I can't imagine how good or how experienced you are. Those balls got to ring your bell just a little bit, and again, toughest position to play in. The diamond is behind that dish. You're involved in every single pitch all the time, prior to the pitch, then after the pitch. So a very demanding job, and hats off to the great catchers we have here this week.
So we do have a change defensively for Venezuela. Gian Flores has come into the game in center field for Engelbert Herrera. So we'll see if Herrera comes back in his place in the order, but right now it will be Gian Flores, the 3rd Flores in the lineup.
Well, and you know, usually when you come into a ball game, usually the first ball it gets hit to the guy that just came into the game.
So we'll keep an eye on a fly ball to center field. Zara on the ground to short, however. And Pedro Flores will make the play. 1 down here in the bottom of the 5th.
Some smooth defense there. Just fundamentally sound. That's what I talked about getting that ball square in the middle of your body and being able to take the velocity off, set the feet, and get it over in plenty of time. So routine ground ball for these guys.
So Eder will step in. He struck out his first time around. First pitch swing, he misses the drop ball, strike 1.
I'm sure you'll see another one of those before his at-bat is done, based on that swing.
6 strikeouts to this point for Maker Pimentel. Strike 2 called in the outside corner. And Lance, I think this is Pimentel's game. There's been no activity. We would expect Luis Colombo to be the second pitcher, but so far, all quiet in the bullpen for Venezuela.
Yeah, and when you look at the line and you see what Pimentel has done, really base runner in the 3rd inning where and then it was a fielder's choice, and then really another base runner in the 4th. But a big double play there, to end that, and you can see coming up big with another strikeout.
As Eater looked for a little slap hit, but down in the count as he was 1-2, that's not going to work for him. So now 7 strikeouts for Pimentel, and with 2 down, the number 8 hitter, Lucio Retamar, who grounded out to Segura at 3rd in his first at-bat. And he's going to ground this to Adames, who backs up on it, handles it, and makes the throw to first. A very quick and clean inning for Maker Pimentel. And we are off to the 6th as we still look for our first run. Game number 2 of the 2025 Men's Softball World Cup Final from Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. Okay, Lance. 9-1-2 coming up for Venezuela, and with every inning that goes by, an upset becomes all the more likely.
Well, I wish I had a crystal ball to predict anything that's going to happen, but that would be way off course. And again, I think we're in territory now where we're talking about, next run wins kind of thing. And boy, you talk about magnifying the pressure. That's exactly what we're in now. And a chance Venezuela, boy, they would sure rock this tournament with an upset here.
Flores with a swinging bunt. Fouled straight back. Huemo Mata is back out for his 6th inning of work. Mata with 69 pitches, check that, through 5. So he's been very efficient.
He has. He's been good. Real good.
And Pimentel with 69 pitches through 5 innings. So shot for shot between the 2 horses on each side. Flores changeup, watches it arc in.
Well, I tell you, when we started seeing Mata and Godoy, they were very similar in their mannerisms in the circle and would get a little frustrated when they didn't get the pitches that they wanted, and you could see that emotionally that was probably their only weakness, would have been, the mental side of things and being able to remain composed. When you look at him here, with the exception of that outside pitch that he didn't get last inning, he has been completely composed. He's gone about his business, and he's really mixed things up.
But he's walked the number 9 batter to start the inning, Pedro Flores. And that'll get him shuffling around in the bullpen, and if not out of the bullpen, as we're going to get another mound visit. That is the 2nd walk in as many innings from Huemo Mata. And we will see Ramon Godoy enter stage right.
I think you kind of have to, really, when you look at it. This is a situation now, like I said, where the next run could win this ball game. And I think after you've really done a great job and Mata certainly has here. He hasn't given up a run, and that's really the bottom line. I know you'll have more details from that, but giving way to Romain Godoy is nothing to snub your nose at, and you're certainly putting it in capable hands. So I like the way that, you know, that thought process is. You don't let it get too late. You don't wait. Two base runners and increase the pressure on Godoy. You now bring him in a situation, there's a base runner, and he can, you know, kind of go from there.
Well, I tell you what, and you're not bringing in a rookie, right? This is Romain Godoy, who since the 2017 event in Prince Albert has thrown 71 1/3 innings, 25 appearances, 2.55 ERA, 109 strikeouts. So, you know, 1A, 1B situation.
109, that's it.
That's all.
That's all he got.
He's got to do a little better than that.
Yeah, I think he might have to pick up his game just a bit. But, you know, if you're going to give way to someone, that's a great option to have and someone to go to come in. And, you know, this Argentinian team, when you look at the pitching staff, you really think that when you only play one game a day, if you get a good start from either one, you could work that two-man rotation and take that, you know, into the first 2 or 3 games if you're, and still be successful. Some other teams in the pitching staff are probably going to end up using 3 starters, 3 games, but the case here, you got 2 world-class throwers on your squad.
So Pedro Flores led off with a walk, and that's 2 full times through the order. So that could be another thing that plays into the thought process for Argentina. Alfredo Aguilar, his 3rd plate appearance, and he will see a brand new pitcher in Romain Godoy. He shows bunt, pops it up, and charging from third base, Khalil Luna slams on the brakes, backs it up, and that's 1 pitch, 1 down for Godoy.
Well, if you're Venezuela, that is the last thing you wanted, and if you're Argentina, that is the first thing you wanted. So you take a look there and just not able, and that's what happens when you try and bunt that rise ball, the toughest pitch to bunt. And good job by Godoy to bring that first, knowing the situation.
Well, another guy who handles the bat well, Angel Adames, look out, as he slapped that on an absolute line, but I guess on a 16-degree angle out of this ballpark.
I don't even know how he got to that angle, basically, with that, so I'm not even sure. Don't start getting into the math thing with the angles. Please, Chris, you just kill me. Please.
Well, here's the math. 1 strike. Adames chops it. Tough play. Luna at third. Across, getting back to the bag is Olheiser, and there's 2 away.
Well, you see him work with his hands spread apart, which automatically is difficult to do as a hitter. And a great job to handle that one down the line on a hop, and knowing that you got a good jump out of that batter's box to get it over to first base in plenty of time. So some good defense by Argentina, and a chance here for Venezuela to put something on the board.
Runner on second out, 2 down for Erwin Diaz. He struck out in his first 2 plate appearances. Lance, a couple of big hacks, though, from the first baseman for Venezuela.
We've seen this scenario before, a couple strikeouts, and then someone decides to go deep. That's the beauty of this game. 1 minute you could have nothing, and then all of a sudden you have a whole lot. And a hit here would sure be big for Venezuela.
62-mile-an-hour changeup from Godoy. Looked to have a little bit of tailback plate side. That's a tough one to hit. Pitch clock down to 2. Diaz on the ground, tough play, and it's going to get under the glove of Eater. A play at the plate, and sliding in safe with the opening run is Flores, and advancing to second on the throw is Erwin Diaz, and Venezuela has the lead.
Well, you know what? As soon as you saw that ball scoot through, that was just a good piece of hitting, but the difference of having a runner in scoring position, that fielder's choice was a godsend for Venezuela. And boy, you talk about clutch hitting. First run of this game goes to Venezuela.
Oh boy, Lance, we've already had 1 upset today, and now Venezuela is just a few outs away from another one. but they have an opportunity to add on as Jose Durantes, the cleanup man, will step in with Diaz on second after he advanced on the throw.
Well, Venezuela notorious for doing this. Again, they hang around, and then get a couple big hits when they need it, and steal a victory. And that's what they're looking to do here. Is they'll have a pinch runner, knowing that another run would be huge at this stage.
So that's Edwin Ramirez coming in to run. And Diaz right now the hero of the day.
I don't think if you scripted this one out, it certainly wouldn't have been written this way.
Lance, how often do we see it when a pitching change happens late in the game to remove the starter, that the reliever gives up a run?
Well, you know what, we say that, but how many times have we watched teams leave the starter in and they give up runs, and you know that the team's so demoralized they're not able to come back? I mean, if you're Roman Godoy, you can't fault that. That's just a good piece of hitting. He gave up a hit, and that's, you know, there's no guarantee that Mata wouldn't have given up that hit, right?
For sure. And listen, that run will be charged to Huemo Mata, but Argentina doesn't care about who gets dinged for the earned run. Now they've got to stop the bleeding here so they can try and get something going on their side of things. And if you're Maker Pimentel, all you want is get me a run, guys, get me a run. And they did. Durantes' first pitch from Godoy will bounce in. Zara will keep it in front to keep the runner Ramirez at second.
Another little thing there, but that runner moves to third, and now then a pass ball would score him. So a good job to keep that in front, keep the runner stationed at second.
Inside drop ball, ball two. Venezuela can feel the momentum, flipping to a white and blue uniform. I suppose both teams have a white and blue uniform with yellow trim.
I wasn't going to say that, Chris. I was just waiting for you to pick up on that. I go, which team are you talking about?
Then I started looking around the field like, yeah, well, normally that works, but...
Well, I tell you, if you're Canada and New Zealand, you're watching this game with full interest, and I'm sure you're hoping that Venezuela can pull off this upset.
But that would send Group A into complete disarray, and this is game number 2 of the tournament.
There's already disarray going on here.
And you can throw our preview show out the window.
That sucker's gone.
2-2 count on Durantes. Outside ball 3. And Lance, late in this game, the Venezuelan hitters have been much more selective at the plate.
It's funny you say that. I was just thinking the same thing. That difference in each at-bat that they have had has gotten better and better, and seeing more pitches going along. And
change up gets him out in front. Roman Godoy will come in and stop the damage at 1 run. But Venezuela, 6 outs from an opening day upset here in Prince Albert. Buckle up, gonna get good. 9-1-2 coming up for Argentina.
Venezuela 1, Argentina 0.
Let's recognize today's triple sponsors. EA Source for Sports, Greenland Waste, EA Northern Russia, Prince Albert Golf and Curling Club, Sass Rivers Public Schools, Prince Albert and Area Community Foundation, Nets and Fence, and Flatland.
Leading off the bottom half of the 6th inning for Argentina, number 95, Campeonato.
1 for 1 out of the 9 spot, and he'll look to get on and turn this over for Argentina. Ball one high, and Rafael Flores turns around looking for an explanation.
Well, he did. I think he did it in a gracious way, and that won't affect the next pitch, but it looked good.
Second pitch is low. And the other side of things, Lance, you're Venezuela, you get the lead, and now you might get a little tighter. Inside drop ball called a strike.
Well, they talk about the final 3 outs being the toughest outs to get, but the final 6, when you're trying to pull off an upset, equally as tough.
Gets Luna chasing outside, and quickly Pimentel's back in the count, all even at 2-2.
I think Pimentel's got to challenge Luna here. Look well behind on that pitch, and I think you got to come with your best now.
Comes back inside with the lifter, foul tip, and Flores will hang on. 1 down. Now 5 outs remaining for Argentina as they go back to the top for Alan Pecker.
Well, big strikeout there because we saw what happened in the top half of the inning with the leadoff hitter getting on a walk, a number 9 hitter, and coming around to score the game's first run. So you certainly, if you're Venezuela, didn't want that scenario to reoccur.
Pecker reached on a fielder's choice in his last at-bat, subsequently stole second and was stranded there in the 3rd. 2 hits, 1 walk allowed by Maker Pimentel to this point. And that is up on Pecker for a ball.
Pecker, a really good hitter, very disciplined. He doesn't chase a lot of pitches out of the strike zone, even though he's got really good plate coverage.
Off the plate and foul. Rafael Flores in the ready position though, Lance. Should it have been fair?
Don't worry about Rafa. He always gets style points, I'll tell you that. Even when he has no idea where the ball is.
He knew it wasn't in front of him.
He knew it wasn't. That's all he cared about. It wasn't between the white lines, so he wasn't worried.
1-2. Skied, and this is going to be back and out of play. Pecker hanging tough. And Lance, your phrase of early getting late certainly applies right now for Argentina. Unable to get anything going to this point.
Well, they're at the top of the shop, and they're where they want to be. And this is when your money guys have to step up and somehow find a way to get on base, and it's probably not the way.
Drop ball, strike 3. Pecker goes down. 2nd strikeout of the inning, 9th of the afternoon for Maker Pimentel.
Well, Pimentel has certainly been a difference in this game so far. He has kept a outstanding and very dangerous lineup in check to keep the Argentinians, the top-ranked team in the world, scoreless through almost 6 innings is a feat in itself. Forget the fact that they actually have a 1-run lead, too. But I think that was a good little timeout there to regroup and take a breath with 2 away, nobody on. You don't want to lose focus. You don't want to drop your guard here when you've got Malherzuk, who is more than capable of tying this game up as well.
First pitch is low for ball 1 on the Argentinian shortstop. 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts. Ladislao Malherzuk in this one. Folks, coming up right after this game, as soon as they can turn the field around, it will be U.S. and Australia in yet another heavyweight tilt today. Jack Besgrove against Marco Diaz.
I'll tell you, we've had 2 games with outstanding starting pitching, and certainly expect that one to follow suit. I'm sure the nightcap, Canada and New Zealand, will also be equally as good.
I would expect Pitarona for New Zealand, and I don't know. 50-50, Sean Cleary, Devin McCullough for Canada. Malher-Zook chases up. Strike 2.
I'm going to speculate Mr. Cleary based on seniority situation, and not that Devin McCullough hasn't been around a bit, but I think, but either way, that's going to be John Stewart's call, and we'll just have to sit and wait and see that following the opening ceremonies.
That's a ball low. The other reason I think it would be Sean Cleary is that McCullough pitched the Four Nations Cup final against New Zealand, and Cleary in the round robin game pitched 2 innings against them, but that was all.
I think good foreshadowing on your part, quite frankly.
So we just got an update from the tournament that said the next game will begin 30 minutes after this one ends. So whatever that time will be, you can start a timer. Enough time for people to get up, have a stretch, grab a bite to eat, get back to the couch for game number 3. Malher-Zook with a 2-out, 2-strike single through the right side, and don't count them out yet.
Just 1 run, and good hitter like Malher-Zook, you can see short, easy stride, didn't overswing, made good contact, able to punch that out through the right side of the infield.
So Teo Migliavacca gets some last-minute instructions.
Now batting for Argentina, number 9, Teo Migliavacca.
And he will stride to the plate with a runner on and 2 down in the bottom of the 6th inning. Migliavacca with a walk, and he hit one back to Mata on the mound in his last at-bat.
Certainly kept Migliavacca guessing up there.
And I said Mata, I meant Pimentel, of course. Strike 1 called at the top of the zone.
I'm not so sure that wasn't a strike anyway, getting some protests from Argentina, but that was a good pitch in the inside corner.
Another strike at the top of the zone.
Well, there you see, came inside, then came back outside, and now if you're Migliavacca, you're not quite sure what you're going to get next. And that has been the MO for Pimentel this entire game.
Runner goes, Flores with the throw, and dead on arrival is Ladislao Malher-Zook. And that's twice they've tested the arm of Flores. Twice he has passed with flying colors. We are off to the 7th inning. Venezuela 1, Argentina 0, as we come down to the close here in game number 2.
The score is still Venezuela 1, Argentina 0.
Well, hold on, Lance. As the bottom of the 6th is not officially over, Argentina has asked for a review on the play at second base. So we'll queue up a replay and see if we can get a look as the umpires do as well. It looked pretty clear to me, unless he missed the tag or something of that nature. And it's also, hey, we got a challenge.
Well, I think you got a challenge and you should use it because you don't know what's going to happen. I think the call was initially out, and I think if you see from the vantage point that quickly the tag was slapped down, I think it'll be. We had that same scenario in a game in the earlier game, where that is probably the only vantage point that the umpire's at a disadvantage when that ball's coming in. The tag slapped in the middle of the slider's body. You can't see through the guy to see if the tag was on time. You're going based on the reaction and how quickly they're bringing it down to slap it on. And I think it's I think it was the right call initially, and I'm not quite sure that Argentina's going to get this one overturned.
Patrick Ruse in communication with the director of umpires. And it looks like he has an answer. And it looked like he said he's out, but I can't read lips for certain. And the out call is confirmed. So we are off to the top of the 7th inning. And Venezuela will come to the plate with the 5, 6, 7 hitters looking to add to the lead. All right, so Gian Flores will stay in and hit Lance. We weren't sure if he was just in there defensively for Herrera, but Herrera struck out twice and he won't get the chance to go again. So it'll be Flores, Segura, Rodriguez, the 3 hitters due up for Venezuela this inning.
And if you're Venezuela, you still want to put some pressure on the defense and try to put some balls in play. Be selective now. You have the luxury of taking a couple of pitches, maybe seeing something a little nicer. You don't have to worry so much about generating a run, although that would certainly go a long way here. But sometimes in this scenario, you're focused on getting those final 3 outs while you're still swinging the bat. So I think that's something that you have to be mindful of.
Argentina will have the 3, 4, 5 hitters coming up in the bottom of the 7th. So if they can hold Venezuela here, still an opportunity to tie or walk off in the bottom.
Well, I think if you're Argentina, you're the top-ranked team in the world. You certainly, even if you come down to your final 3 outs, you still got a chance. You still have plenty of sticks in the lineup that are capable of picking up a hit. You can get base runners and manufacture runs. So I think until that 3rd out is recorded, Argentina's still in this ball game.
And the only thing it does, if Migliavaca, you know, he had a 2-strike count on him, now he'll get to start fresh. So that's the only benefit of the caught stealing of Malazuk.
I think that may have been one of the reasons why they sent him too, knowing that if he does get down, he still have Migliavaca to lead off the next inning, and that's what you want. You want the meat of the order up when you need them, and I'll tell you, with 3 outs away, you definitely need them.
Swing and a miss. Trapped by Zara. He'll get up and throw down to first. And it's completed, although it wasn't the cleanest one we've ever seen one away.
No, that throw to first just dipped over the runner's shoulder and into the glove. So what was routine? Ended routine, but it didn't look routine.
Goes in the book as a K, but that's it. And yeah, if there's anyone who can lead off an inning, Teo Migliavaca, he was a longtime leadoff man for Argentina. But Venezuela, as you said, looking to add on here. Segura shakes his head after he swung at an outside pitch for strike 1.
Segura has quietly put together a solid game here today.
Change up, and out in front of it, Segura will send a foul, and Godoy ahead, no balls, 2 strikes.
A lot of times he doesn't do it with the bat, but again, a lot of the little things, the positioning, his consistency on the field, and even when he doesn't get a hit, he's able to work the pitchers deep into the count and make them throw some strikes. So he's done a good job for Venezuela, certainly here today.
0-2 from Godoy at the knees, but just off the plate for a ball. But that's where you want to throw that 0-2, right?
That's the perfect 0-2 pitch.
Goes out there again, check swing. They'll check down at first. No, he did not, said Mutsunari Kusamoto of Japan.
Well, he's got a much better vantage point than I do here. I thought he went. But a good job by Segura to hold off, get himself back in his count.
Back to the mound, and Godoy will make the play onto Olheiser at first, and there's 2 away.
Once again, I wouldn't expect Godoy to do anything less than field his position properly, as he always has been. Good at that, and a good pitch to get a good hitter.
So they're re-entering Cleaver Rodriguez, who was pinch run for, but because he's the designated player, had not re-entered the game until now. So that's the break in play. So Rodriguez worked a walk his last time up and was stranded when Flores hit it to the warning track.
Now batting for Venezuela, number 23, Cleaver Rodriguez.
That's what we got, the re-entry.
Two down, nobody on, top of the 7th inning. Venezuela leading 1-0 after they scored in the top of the 6th on an Erwin Diaz RBI single, scoring the leadoff walk of Pedro Flores. And leadoff walks to the 9 batter, Lance, they'll kill you every time.
Isn't that the case, boy?
Changeup is in for a strike.
If you're Argentina, you just got to worry about getting this final out here. You don't get complacent because you've got 2. You've got to close the door and give your team that opportunity, trailing by just 1.
Swinging a miss in the rise. 2-2. 1-2, check that. Just a gorgeous day at Prime Minister's Park, a Tuesday afternoon. Every time I look, there's fewer and fewer seats available.
You got to come early. You got.
And they're going to call strike 3 on Rodriguez for not being set in the first 10 seconds of the pitch clock. And that is somebody who hasn't played at the WBSC level, learning the very hard way. Wow. We'll go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Migliavaca, Olheiser, Godoy due up for Argentina. Maker Pimentel back on to work his 7th inning. Here we go. Bottom of the 7th inning. Teo Migliavaca to face Miker Pimentel,
who has been outstanding in this ball game, and the reason why Venezuela has a 1-0 lead is Pimentel has gotten the job done and been guided nicely by the veteran behind the plate and Rafael Flores.
Well, last year in the Group A event, it was Venezuela and the Dominican finishing 5-0 and 4-1. Big part of that was John Gonzalez and Maker Pimentel. And now they're showing the world why.
Chance here really to shock this tournament and blow it wide open.
It's already been done in Group B with a loss by Japan, and it would be even more seismic if the #1 ranked team in the world lost its first game. But that's why they're the #1 ranked team in the world. Teo Migliavaca with a lead-off 2-strike single to get Argentina right back into this game.
Well, that makes the decision to send the runner an inning ago. you know, the right one. You get a chance, you got to throw him out. Flores has to throw a perfect throw to get the runner. He does that, but again, you have Migliovaca able to lead off the inning, and he delivers. That's what a little experience and some skill will do for your squad.
Well, that'll bring Federico Olheiser to the plate. Absolutely no activity in the bullpen for Venezuela. So this is Pimentel's game, no matter which way it ends. First pitch, Olheiser. He was geared up, and it looked like he swung. They're going to check down at first base, and yes, he did. Strike one.
Well, I thought Olheiser had a very good at-bat in collecting a single the last time up. That was way back in the 4th inning.
Drop ball inside for a strike.
He's got some work to do here for sure. Now this scenario, I'm not quite sure. Did you really go up there swinging, or
he sure did?
Should you maybe laid that one down and tried to advance the runner, play for the tie? But either way, doesn't work in Argentina's favor.
Well, one of the things with that, Lance, is it's your cleanup guy. And when's the last time Olheiser laid down a sacrifice bunt? So looking to walk it off. They'll have another chance with another power hitter in Manuel Godoy right here.
Well, you're right, Chris, and the fact that he had a hit in his last at-bat certainly would probably change the thinking. You let him hit away, and being a good hitter and your cleanup hitter, you're right, probably not as comfortable laying one down as he would be swinging through.
Godoy sends this high out to left field. Lots of room for Alfredo Aguilar. He fights the wind, makes the catch, and a throw right on the money to keep Migliovaca at first.
Good defense, good pitch, and that ball again started towards the gap in left center, tailed all the way into left field, and a good run. You can see there that Aguilar never stopped running on the plate until he caught that ball. And had a good throw to get in to keep that runner out of scoring position.
Venezuela is 1 out away, and we're going to get a timeout, maybe to let Juan Zara think about this just a little longer.
Do that, maybe give your defense a little bit of a breather just to reset and get ready to go here, because when you talk about Zara, you're still talking about another hitter capable of taking this ball out of the park.
There might be a question about whether Olheiser was re-entered into the game. Biondi had run for him back in the 4th inning, and I believe that was the question coming from the bench for Venezuela. Looks like it was done, but they'll take the advantage for the timeout for a defensive conference anyhow.
Yeah, I think a good time for Venezuela to regroup here. This is a, you know, for them, it's not just because it's the first game, but this is the biggest out that they've seen, certainly.
That's all I can think it was, but it was a couple innings ago when Olheiser was back in the... But sometimes some teams, you know, ask the right questions to gain themselves a break.
Bit of some gamesmanship going on for sure.
First pitch, Zara, foul tip, strike one.
Well, he was taking no prisoners on that swing, that's for sure. He was trying to end this ball game and pull the carpet from underneath the Venezuelans.
Goes up higher this time. Zara leaves it there. Tying run is at first in the form of Teo Migliovaca, and with that, the outfielders are playing deep to keep the ball in front of them for Venezuela. In the dirt, ball 2.
That's a good job by Pimentel not to try and go right at the hitter and challenge him right here in this situation. You're good hitter on the edge looking for something to drive.
Ball 3 high. If Zara reaches, the next batter due up is Federico Eder, who has struck out twice today.
I think the adage is, you never want to put the winning run on. You do have the percentages in your favor if you have to deal with Eder.
Zara's going to rip this into left field. Migliovaca's around second. He's chugging for third. This is going to be close. Migliovaca's safe. He looks at home, but he will stop there, and the tying run is now just 60 feet away.
But are you really surprised? And you could see the way that Zara was locked in up there, that he was going to be a tough out. And waited, took a couple pitches, waited, and then was able to jump on another one. And I think we're going to have ourselves a pinch hitter here.
We sure are. It's Ojeda Gonzalez pinch hitting in the 7th spot.
So now the question, if you're Venezuela and Argentina decides to send that runner, do you go after that out and risk it, or do you allow that run to sit there, because that would potentially be the winning run?
And I said Gonzalo Ojeda's name backwards. He had 2 home runs here in Prince Albert last year. And he hit 2 in Whitehorse. He likes the Northern Canadian climate.
Likes it a little chilly, does he? Okay. Well, big moment here. And we knew that Argentina wasn't going to go down quiet.
First pitch high for a ball.
Final out, always the toughest one to get.
Migliavaca has enough speed to score on a pass ball. Ojeda chases a rise ball, and the count is now even. Chases, low, swings through it, 1-2.
Good pitch right now. Pimentel in the driver's seat. We'll see where Rafa guides him. Can't bring him home.
10 strikeouts on the day for Maker Pimentel. This is skied on the infield. Who's going to get it? Coming in is Segura. He runs into Pimentel, but they hang on. And Venezuela will turn Group A on its head with an opening day upset of the world #1 ranked Argentina. 2 games in, 2 huge upsets. And boy, oh boy, the WBSC Men's World Cup is off and running, and now anything is possible.
Well, I never seen a preview show go south so quickly as ours did, but boy, what a fantastic ball game. And give Venezuela some credit. Boy, they delivered when they needed to, got that timely hit and a walk to the #9 hitter that would come all the way around to score, but more importantly, the composure by Pimentel to remain strong and get that final out off a very good hitter. Congratulations to Venezuela.
An upset that nobody saw coming, and it almost fell apart. Look at this last play. Segura and Pimentel run into each other. Oh, man. And all we got coming up next is USA and Australia. Don't go anywhere, folks. The 2025 WBSC Men's Softball World Cup here on GameTime.Sport. On behalf of Lance Wynn, I'm